Welcome to another episode of Sports with Betz. I'm your host, Caleb Betz. Hey, we got a lot to jump into here. Football, I say it every week, but it's so back. It's in full swing. I'm grateful for it, not taking it for granted at all. A little bit of housekeeping before I get rocking and rolling. As always, if you find anything that makes you laugh, that you enjoy, that you take away, if I give you a little fun fact or a nugget or something like that you can go talk shit with at the bar, anything, please share my show. Send this to a friend. If you take anything away from this, if you get any sort of value, or if I give you a reason to come back, please share it with somebody, post it on social media, whatever you got to do. So getting that out of the way, I think we had one of the most exciting weekends overall in sports with pro football, in full swing. We got some awesome college football games. MLB playoffs is about to kick off. But the biggest story for me this weekend was the Ryder Cup. Not. I had people talking to me about the Ryder Cup. Sorry if you're a golf fan. If you watch the Ryder Cup with the games that we had on Saturday or Sunday, if you watch the Ryder Cup at all Saturday or Sunday, you're a criminal. You deserve to be locked up. The only exception to the rule would be if you have like YouTube TV and you had like a picture, then you had the Ryder Cup up on one or a separate TV or something like that, and football was also going. You get a get out of jail free card there. But I don't care about the Ryder Cup. Why am I going to tune in and watch the United States get their asses kicked by European golfers on our own soil when there's American football going on? I mean, we'll get to international play here in a little bit, but come on, guys. Let's not make the Ryder Cup a bigger deal than it needs to be when it's happening, at the end of September when prime football is on. What I actually did watch this weekend was I watched a ton of really, really good football, some really close games. Saturday was awesome for college football because as a Husker fan, nothing better than getting a little bit of stress-free, guilt-free football where Nebraska didn't play on Saturday. We had our first bye week, and it was just nice being able to focus on other teams, not be concerned about the outcome of your game or, not watching any football while also being depressed that Nebraska, lost or blew it in a big way. Just being able to have some guilt-free, stress-free football was awesome. And it absolutely delivered. Feel like we're living in Groundhog's Day where Alabama once again beats Georgia. Georgia definitely looked like the better football team, I thought, but Alabama just finds a way to beat Georgia. They just have their number. And then it's the other one was Penn State, played a game that we have seen 1,000 times. This game was was a huge, I don't know what you want to say, a huge symbol or a huge, I guess, reality check for me because I made some predictions before the college football season that were just completely disproven and proven to not be true whatsoever during this game. I thought that Oregon was going to be not a very good football team this year, and I'm proven to be wrong. They might be the best team in the country. They're definitely the best team not named Ohio State, in my opinion. And I predicted, so not only did I predict before the season started that Oregon wouldn't be very good, I also predicted that Drew Aller was going to win the Heisman this year, and he was actually going to figure it out. I did not actually put money on that, thank God, because Drew Aller is a joke. Oh my gosh, he is such a joke. We were talking about, I was watching the game with some buddies, and we were talking about, in the fourth quarter, about how he has multiple times thrown an interception to lose the game. And then, of course, that game starts getting contested late. And we're like, here we go again. Sure as shit. Throws an interception. Oregon wins the ball game at home in front of everybody. And then he had some texts that were leaked. I'm not going to repeat what he said in the texts, but they were friggin' filthy. That dude is a perv. So not only is Drew Aller not winning the Heisman, he's officially on pervert watch in my book. So, really, really good slate of football. You had Tennessee and Mississippi State. Mississippi State's got a good football program. I didn't see that coming. I don't know what they were projected to do in the SEC this year, but they could mess around and upset some teams out there. A prediction that is coming true of mine, however, speaking of the SEC, is I had the prediction that the Big Ten would arise as the premier conference in college football and the SEC would cannibalize itself. We're not fully there yet. And we kind of saw the Big Ten doing that with, Oregon and Penn State. But you had Ole Miss beating LSU this past weekend. Ole Miss looked really, really good. You had, Tennessee and Georgia. That was a close game a couple weeks ago. Was that 2 weeks ago? And then you have Alabama beating Georgia. That kind of screws things up. You have all these teams beating each other, and you're going to have a bunch of teams in the SEC with 2 or 3 losses that are kind of in no man's land. This was my prediction anyway. You're going to have a bunch of teams with 2 or 3 losses in no man's land that are good enough on paper to play in the college football playoff, but don't have the resume. So that's starting to unfold. That's starting to happen, and it's only going to get worse. So I think like South Carolina is another team that is probably already out of college football playoff contention, and it's not going to get any better anytime soon. So we got another exciting slate of college football coming up this weekend. We got Nebraska. They play Michigan State, and Nebraska 100% has to win its next 4 games. We've got Michigan State, Minnesota, Maryland, and Northwestern the next 4 weeks. Have to win all 4 of those games. If we lose 1, season's over. If we lose 2, someone send me the suicide hotline number. So we got to go undefeated going into, I think the game we play. Let me look this up real quick because we play those 4 games, and then I think we have USC after that, and I will actually be in attendance at that game. But yeah, so Michigan State, Maryland, Minnesota, Northwestern, and then USC at home. We got to only have 1 loss going into that USC game if we're going to have any shot at being a serious football program this year. So we'll see. We got an exciting stretch coming up here. In other news, changing gears, going to NFL football. Super bizarre and exciting weekend. I mean, you've got a couple of teams that just don't make any sense to me right now. 2 teams that come to mind are the Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. I don't know how you have the Panthers, beating the Falcons. What did they beat them, like 30-0 2 weeks ago? And then coming back the next week and just getting absolutely shit pumped by the Patriots, losing by 30. Panthers don't make any sense. That's probably just a sign that they're a terrible team in reality, but it's the NFL, so anybody's got a puncher's chance. And then the Falcons, I don't know how you go from, getting your balls kicked in by the Carolina Panthers and 5'11" Bryce Young, and then turn around and beat the Commanders. And I know the Commanders are really injured. They didn't have Scary Terry. They didn't have Jaden Daniels, but they're still a good team and still a well-coached team. So, and Michael Penix looked way better. This was probably the best week that he's had in the NFL, in my opinion, from a poise and composure standpoint. Another kind of like WTF moment was the Giants beating the Chargers. How do you have the Giants beating the Chargers? That just doesn't make any sense. I'm going to say this probably another 15 more times through the course of the season. The NFL is just such a better product than college football. All of these teams are so good, and the margin for error is so slim that you can't, anybody's got a puncher's chance on any given week. And that's kind of true of college football, but it's also kind of not true. You don't have, 40, 50, 60-point spreads in pro football. Like if you have 10-point spread in pro football, that's a big deal. Speaking of the Giants, though, I love seeing Jaxson Dart, man. Man, I love seeing Jaxson Dart. He looked freaking good. I said earlier in the season that Carson Beck for Miami was on Supreme White Boy watch. Jaxson Dart is on Supreme White Boy watch. He's approaching Supreme White Boy. He's got to keep doing it, but I remember seeing him like week 1 and 2. He had like the sleeveless turtleneck and like a bunch of chains on and face paint. And I was like, man, you look a little stupid. since you're backup for the New York Giants dressing like that. But then as a starter, I'm like, I kind of like it. It's a little extra, but I kind of dig it. He's got some swag about him, and he scored his first touchdown, ran it in, which was nice. He looked fast on the NFL field, which was cool. I didn't expect that. He does a little freaking dance, and his boys are around him. I'm like, all right, Jaxson Dart. Your name's Jaxson, spelled Jaxson. Like, that's the most Gen Z name ever. But you know what, man? If you can back it up and you can win football games, it looks kind of cool. I'll verbal meme here. If he starts losing football games, I'm going to turn into Seth Rogen from Pineapple Express, where he's like, yeah, now the suits are kind of fucked up. Now the turtleneck and the chains is kind of, I kind of don't like it anymore. Onions and ketchup, if you guys know that reference. So, yeah, loved watching Jaxson Dart. Another fun thing happened was we had the Packers and the Cowboys had a 40-40 tie. Look, I'm so torn about this, and even as these words are leaving my mouth, I don't even know what my fully formed opinion on it, just because it is on ties in the NFL. Because on one hand, I love the storyline that there's all this drama and all this buildup with Micah Parsons wanting to get a deal done in Dallas, and he can't get it done, so they trade him away to the Packers. On Sunday Night Football in primetime, they tie 40-40. That's hilarious. I love that happened. And then at the same time, I'm like, man, that's pretty fucking dumb. We need to have a winner and a loser in pro football. We need to have a winner and loser. I mean, these guys are making millions and millions of dollars, and you can't have a winner and a loser. You got a tie. What is this, France? This isn't the FFL. This is the National Football League. This is American football. We have winners and losers in this country, and we don't do ties in real life. I mean, seriously, it doesn't exist anywhere else outside of pro football in America. That might be the last place that ties exist in the continental United States, is in the NFL. That doesn't make any sense. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Am I crazy for having such a bipolar attitude when it comes to ties, or do we just need to do away with it and fix the overtime system in the NFL? That's probably the more logical response. And if I were a Packers or Cowboys fan, I'd probably feel like, yeah, I don't want that tie. Even though now looking at the standings and seeing the whatever the Cowboys are, like 1-2-1. I love when there's 3 digits in a record, in a win-loss record. It's very funny. And then other things that have been going on. I didn't want to talk about the Titans today. I didn't want to talk about them, and I'm going to try not to talk about them forever, probably, because they are a poverty franchise. I said this last week. I wasn't going to get worked up, and then I got really worked up. We're at an all-time low in Nashville. We are at an all-time low. I have seen some stuff as a Titans fan. I have been through the thick of it, and I don't remember ever feeling as discouraged and hopeless and depressed as a football fan than I feel right now. I got pretty close to this feeling. Maybe, I might have felt worse than this during the Scott Frost era. That's probably accurate, when we won 3 games and we were supposed to win the national championship. It feels like that. Just for reference, that's probably my lowest point as a sports fan was the Scott Frost era, and I think the Titans are there. We lost 26-0 to the 0-3 Houston Texans. I mean, it's funny that I'm comparing Nebraska football and the Tennessee Titans, because, I've seen this happen before. Brian Callahan is destroying the Tennessee Titans the same way that his dad, Bill Callahan, destroyed the Nebraska Cornhuskers program. It's almost like history's repeating itself, where you had Frank Solich. I think Frank Solich lost 3 games for Nebraska before he was fired, replaced with Bill Callahan, pro football guy, blah, 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 guru, this and that, comes to town, thinks he's the big swinging dick, and drove that program into utter despair. And it took a psychopath in Bo Pelini to get us out of the gutter. Same exact thing happened in Tennessee. We had Mike Vrabel. We had a very competent coach. 2021 NFL Coach of the Year, going to remind you guys. Went to the AFC Championship, went to the playoffs 3 years in a row before he was fired. And he was fired for basically no reason. And then we hire Bill Callahan's son, Brian Callahan. I'm going to refer to him as Brian Bin Laden from here on out because I hate him that much. Coach Bin Laden drives our program into the ground, is an absolute idiot, doesn't know what he's doing, doesn't command any respect whatsoever, and Titans, the season's over. It's over. It's over. 0-4, looking for the number 1 overall pick. I hope that we don't win another game so that way we can secure the number 1 overall pick next year. We got to fire sale. We got to get rid of Calvin Ridley. We got to get rid of L'Jarius Sneed. We got to get rid of Jones, our right tackle. We got to get rid of Lloyd Cushenberry. We got to get rid of everybody. Clean house, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, get them out of there. And at this point, I would not be upset if the team sold to new ownership and we just started over. Change the name of the team, move the city even. I don't care at this point. Start over. There's no length I'm willing to nothing is off the table for us to fix this problem, and it might take some drastic shit for this to happen. Coach Bin Laden, you're done. You're fired. My prediction is, we're going to play. So we play the Cardinals this week, and then I think it's either the following week or 2 weeks from then, Tennessee plays against who? Mike Vrabel and the Patriots at home. We're going to get absolutely smothered in our sleep in that game. And I think that is when Amy is going to strategically fire Brian Bin Laden. So we'll see. That give us 2-3 weeks. We won't win any games. I think we're going to be the first 0-17 team in history. At this point, Tony Pollard has looked okay. Peter Skronsky is awesome. He's a great, he's our only shining star on that offensive line. He's had some awesome line grades the last couple of weeks. And then Cam Ward is an absolute gunslinger, has a rocket arm, and is a leader of men. And Alec Ayamanor, however you say it. Those are there's 4 or 5 bright spots that we've had. Jeffrey Simmons, you're gone. See ya. Sorry, dude. Jeffrey Simmons, don't want to see you anymore. Get some draft picks out of you. Everybody else fire sale. We suck. We suck. We really suck. That's all I'm going to say about the Tennessee Titans. Except for, so Monday Night Football was watching the Jets and the Dolphins game, and it was a pretty fun game, actually. It was pretty exciting. It brought back another bad memory of, do you guys remember, I think it was either Monday night or Sunday night. I think it was Monday Night Football last year. Will Levis having that huge comeback against the Dolphins on Monday Night Football. I got to look this up because I think the Titans were down 27-13 or something like that. Here, hold on. Let me look this up. Will Levis and the Titans comeback against the Dolphins was just spectacular. And I was thinking about how quickly time can change because I watched that whole game. I stayed up late for it. So it was 2023. Let me see here. Let's see what that score was. Sorry, this is really good podcasting right now. It was 2023. Will Levis had 300 yards passing. Derrick Henry had 3 touchdowns. Oh, seeing Derrick Henry right now in a Titans jersey is just absolutely terrible. That sucks. So they were down 27-13 late in the fourth quarter, had a 0.4% chance of winning the game, and then they ended up coming back and then winning. That was something I had just buried deep down and forgot about because, man, Will Levis was another heartbreak. But in any event, watching that Jets and Dolphins game, those teams both suck. Sometimes I'll watch sometimes I'll watch a team like the Buffalo Bills, or I'll watch a team like, I'm trying to think of another. I'll watch a team like the almost said St. Louis Rams. Damn, I'm old. The Los Angeles Rams, a really well coached, really talented, technical team, and I'm like, these teams aren't even playing the same sport as my favorite team, the Tennessee Titans. But then I'll watch the Jets and Dolphins. I'm like, all right, there it is. that's the same sport that the Titans play. Yeah, both those teams really sucked bad, but it was some very entertaining action, to say the least. I feel bad for Aaron Glenn being 0-4 right now. I think he's actually a pretty good coach, and I think that he's got I would say Aaron Glenn has a bright future as a coach in the NFL. Don't know if it's going to be with the Jets, because the Jets are kind of a cursed franchise as well. But the main topic, the main thing I wanted to cover today is injuries in the NFL. Injuries, man. I feel like injuries the last year, 2 years have just been at an all-time high, and it's absolutely killing the product on the field with football, pro football. Why are we still doing turf football fields? I mean, this is a serious question. Like, I would almost venture to say, if you've got a turf football field, you are on the radar or possibly outing yourself as an organization that doesn't care at all about your players and doesn't care about winning football games. You care about revenue and running the business. The reason why they do turf, and my understanding is, the reason why some stadiums do turf in the first place is because it's easier to manage, and they want to utilize that space for more like concerts and big events and whatnot. What a bullshit reason to have some of your most valuable assets that play in that stadium go out with season-ending injuries. I mean, Tyreek Hill's leg in that game last night was absolutely disgusting and just broke my heart. He's kind of a piece of shit guy, and whatever your opinion is on Tyreek Hill, who cares? You don't want to see one of the most exciting players in the NFL, his leg is like hanging on by a thread, twisted the wrong way. That sucks, man. Why are we still doing turf? That's absolutely insane. Um, yeah, I don't understand why the NFL doesn't step in and make it mandatory for everybody to do grass. All the players say that they prefer grass. The studies and the metadata have shown that the less injuries occur on grass, it's more forgiving. Turf is less forgiving. You move faster. The human body is not equipped to play on that surface. Just stop doing it. What are we doing? So it sucks to see, Jaden Daniels is out. Joe Burrow is out. Tyreek Hill just had an injury. I'm sure Christian McCaffrey is going to blow something here soon. Injuries are a huge concern, and that's a huge problem the NFL needs to address. Another thing I want to address is the NFL overseas. Who gives a shit about growing the game? Do people really, are there people who are in America watching American football sitting at home watching, you know what? I'd love to watch an NFL game in London. Who's saying that? Who is this for? I look, I don't know what we need to do to make the NFL accessible to folks in Europe and overseas without actually playing the sport over there, but it's got to happen, because like, you talk about injuries in the NFL, not only are stadiums and facilities not doing anything to prevent player injuries, because they're still forcing their players to play on turf. Now they're shipping them overseas, and now they want to make one team at least, I'm sorry, every team at least once a year has to go overseas and play. What does that do for your travel, for your sleep schedule, for your health? Like, it throws these guys are seasoned pro athletes making millions of dollars. They are creatures of consistency and routine. To operate at that level, you have to be super consistent. You have to be disciplined. You have to have habits that lead to you having better production on the field. You're going to say, oh, yeah, now you got to bring your whole family, your whole, your nutrition team, your chef, whatever. They either got to stay at home, or you got to bring them with you to Europe or Brazil or Spain. Stupid. All it's going to lead to is a worse product on the field, and I firmly believe that. one thing we did see that was nice this past weekend is I think we saw an emergence of prime Perk 30 Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was on one, ripping, smelling salts, hitting dudes. We might have had Perk Rodgers back. It was reported that he was drunk when he got off the plane to Dublin, which is hilarious. So maybe Aaron Rodgers is the exception to the rule, even though he was bitching about the travel. He was bitching about it a week beforehand. He was the only player I saw actually vocal about it. And then he was like the one player that I thought, hey, maybe Aaron Rodgers overseas is actually better than Aaron Rodgers in America. That was nice to see. I like to see vintage Perk 30 Rodgers was back. But yeah, so reiterating here, this is where we're at. Stop doing turf. Stop doing NFL overseas. And then the third one is you have to find a way to make the Guardian caps less dorky. These guys, you put a Guardian cap on, you're like, man, that's a fucking dork right there. That is an absolute nerd with a Guardian cap on. It's like it's like putting a shirt with a pocket and pens on it, like when you were in elementary school. Like, you are going to get picked on and called a nerd right away for wearing a Guardian cap because it looks so stupid. So you got to find a way to make those Guardian caps less dorky. Maybe you do something on the inside of the helmet that's concealed. I thought maybe you do something that's like integrated with the actual helmet itself, where instead of hard shell helmets, now you have an actual built-in soft shell helmet. Romeo Dobbs, however you say his name. Man, he looked like a dork. He looked like he was NFL Blitz big head mode on Sunday Night Football. So if you do those three things, stop doing turf, stop doing international games, even regardless of injuries, stop doing international games. And then you find a way to make the Guardian caps less dorky and more players will adopt them. I think you're going to see a way better product on the field. You're not going to have the Lamar Jacksons going down. You're not going to have Jaden Daniels. You're not going to have Joe Burrow. Like, those are three of the players that we were the most excited to watch coming into the season. You can't even freaking watch them. And there's injuries are still going to happen, but if I were in charge, if I could wave a magic wand, I would have all three of those things happen right now. So, okay, moving on from that. What got my blood boiling is, and I'll be brief with this, was what is all in it. This kind of ties into the turf conversation. What is up with the NFL ruining snow football and getting rid of snow football? There is a conspiracy against snow football because it seems like every team that has dope snow football games every year are building domes. This has to stop. This has to be boycotted or something. I don't know how we turn this around, but everybody's building a dome in the NFL, and I hate it. I think it's so stupid. I love having a home field advantage and having a couple games on or flipping through a couple different games, and you've got snow in Buffalo, when you've got rain in Miami, and then you've got brutal cold somewhere else, and then you've got sunshine in Tampa Bay. Having an open stadium is one of the best things ever, and I'm absolutely, completely disappointed in the Broncos, in the Bills, in the Titans, all these teams building. Minnesota, man, come on. Minnesota, rip the top off of US Bank Stadium. You got to have a way to get some snow and some cold in there. You're the Vikings, for God's sakes. Yeah, I don't like the direction the NFL is headed, where we're going to have everything's going to look like SoFi Stadium. It's going to have a cover on it. I'm not going to be surprised when Lambeau does the same thing. Everybody's going to be playing in a covered stadium on AstroTurf, and it's going to be this sterile, like, test tube lab product of football, and I'm not excited about it. So that got my blood boiling this past week. Another thing that got my blood boiling this past week was freaking Jonathan Taylor, dude. That I put you guys on game. I had a sick parlay where that every single person got a touchdown. I had to change it. So every person had a touchdown. It was Christian McCaffrey. I had to do Saquon Barkley because for whatever reason, the place that I bet at here in Omaha, Warhorse Casino, it wouldn't let me bet Bijan Robinson. I don't know why. It was stupid. So I had Saquon, Christian McCaffrey, Ashton Genty, DeAndre Swift, and Jonathan Taylor. And Jonathan Taylor has a 53-yard touchdown to the house, dragging dudes, scores a touchdown, and the stupid wide receiver gets called for a holding call. And it was the same stupid wide receiver who dropped the ball on the half-yard line on a touchdown pass and threw it out the back of the end zone and got a freaking turnover, got a touchback on his own team. That is a fireable offense. If I was a coach of a football team, for the record, and you're about to score a touchdown and you drop the ball on the 1 yard line and it goes out the back and it goes from 6 points to a turnover and the team has the ball on the 20, don't care if you're Justin Jefferson, you're done. You're out the door. See ya. So the fact that not only he did that, but he also got called for holding, which was totally unnecessary on that Jonathan Taylor run, and it broke my parlay. I got to look this guy's name up because he is on my shit list. Let's look this stupid guy up for the Colts. That was so embarrassing. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. It was Adonai Mitchell. That's who it was, right? Yep, Adonai Mitchell. His response, a Colts wide receiver, Adonai Mitchell, on blown touchdown and fumble. It stings. Yeah, well, guess what? I would have made like $700 if he didn't do that. So it stings a little bit more than you think, Adonai Mitchell. Ever consider that? So, I don't have any other betting advice other than if you were going to bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl, now is an excellent time to do so because I still think the Ravens are a Super Bowl contender. They certainly have the pieces to get it done. I could see this being the start of the Ravens, Super Bowl DVD where, wow, I just said DVD, the you know what I mean, where they started off the season 1-3, struggling, turnovers, injuries, coaching issues, blah, blah, blah. And then they all banded together and got the deal done and won a championship. So I don't have any parlays or anything betting wise this week, but I will say the Ravens are now plus 1,200. I think that they were like plus 400 in the beginning of the season. So they're 12-1 odds, win a $10 bet wins 130 or pays out 130. Now's a good time. If you're bullish on the Ravens, throw some money at them because the odds are probably not going to be any higher than they are right now, and they could still get it done. All right. That's all I got for now. Please subscribe, follow me. Subscribe on YouTube, follow me on Spotify. Keep commenting, keep sharing the show. I'm having a ton of fun with this, and I don't want to stop anytime soon. So with that being said, I love you all. Let's go watch some football.